The sagas of Rodney Hinton and his son Ryan Hinton have been generating propaganda that has actually eclipsed that which swirled around the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Well, okay, maybe that might be a stretch. Regardless, the irresponsible misinformation has gotten out of hand to the point where sooner or later it's going to get a cop killed. We have YouTubers out there broadcasting the name of the cop, even though his name is being withheld because, well, does the name Rodney Hinton mean anything to you? I will say this, if you go out of your way to identify the cop involved in a shooting, you have a responsibility to avoid passing on unsubstantiated information about the cop that would compel someone to attack him. One of the biggest shovelers of horse manure is Richard Taylor of Taylor House Publishing, whose YouTube channel has essentially one goal: generate falsehoods to protect the reputations of black suspects of violent crime. He's the one that pushed
"It wasn't Rodney Hinton that drove the car into that sheriff deputy. No, it was some woman"
baloney.
An eyewitness has come forth to confirm what I told you earlier this week, that Rodney Hinton was not the driver of the vehicle that killed the deputy in Cincinnati, Ohio.
And why? Because he wants Rodney to get away with it. He hates cops, especially white ones. In one of his more recent videos, he's pushing a theory that the cop who shot Ryan Hinton knew the owner of the stolen Kia. Since then, other YouTubers have decided that Richard is really onto something. Why? Because Richard's claims align to their political view that cops are evil. And if you want to know how Richard formed this conclusion, hang on. You'll get to hear the mental murmurings of a race hustler, and if you lose brain cells listening to it, well, I'm warning you now. Hello out there. I am trying to get through.
With cold, blunt analysis cradled in the warmth of reasoning, it's time for Johnny Walker Dread to straighten you out on a thing or two. Emanating all the way from exciting Las Vegas, Oklahoma, it's time for the Johnny Walker Dread Show.
Now, before we begin, Richard's claim is that the cop knew the owner of the Kia and that Ryan's shooting was all planned as part of the cops and his cop buddies getting even for the car theft. I'm not joking. Look at the title of the video. Undercover officer who shot Ryan Hinton had connections to stolen Kia. So he's not just weighing the possibility, he's making the claim. Now, let's listen to how he formed this conclusion. Remember, other YouTubers think this guy is really a crackerjack investigator.
A wide search spanning blocks of East Price Hill. Guns drawn, officers on a high alert after one of their own shot and killed a man at the Westview condo complex around 10 a.m.
Every incident that we encounter is different.
Cincinnati Police Chief Teresa Thigi says members of their fugitive...
She's a DEI hire, by the way. I can guarantee you. She can't be more than 5'3" tall.
Task force and marked cars attempted to check a stolen car, and 4 people hopped out and started running. She says one had a gun and an officer shot him.
All right. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings. All praises to the Most High. And we're going to go back to that article in a minute. But I just wanted to point out some things that people have told me. I received a call this morning.
You received a call? From whom? People have told me. What did they tell you? How do you know it's accurate? And how would they know the truth? That last question is fundamental. How would they know? Do they work for the force? Or did they slip into the police chief's office at night with a flashlight between their teeth, a la I Spy? The answer is no one called him. No one told him anything. This is how he rolls. And even if they did, he never bothered to check out their story.
But I've also visited Cincinnati. I just really got back last night, and I actually saw that reporter. I had an interview with that reporter.
Really? I went through Richard's videos around the time that he was in Cincy, and I see no interview of a reporter. Does he even have a recording of this interview? What did he ask him? What was his response? For some reason, Richard isn't going to tell you. And since Richard isn't going to bother telling us what was asked and what was said, of what possible value is there in telling us that he interviewed the reporter? Besides, why interview a reporter? If the reporter knows something, he'll tell you on air. That's why he's paid. He doesn't get paid to find out stuff, then not tell us. And if there's a really good reason why he doesn't want to tell the public, he's not going to tell you.
Me and a couple of other people who came up. So I actually know that reporter. And of course, the reporters and the police work hand in hand to kind of frame these narratives.
Oh, the Cincinnati police force works with the reporters to frame the narratives. They work hand in hand. My mistake. I thought reporters work to generate exciting news content for their stations. The people who cut their checks. But apparently, they work for the police. So what really happened? First of all, I doubt Richard interviewed anyone. Here's a reporter that is covering an important topic central to my investigation, and I'm not going to publish it? At most, Richard probably asked a reporter a question and the dude said, well, watch me tonight on WABC Channel 8. There's no motive for a reporter to talk to you. Think about it. If you're a reporter, you get paid for generating content for your audience, not him. You're the one that went through all the trouble to acquire knowledge about the topic. You don't get anything by spilling the beans to some YouTuber and letting that person get the scoop on the story.
But there's one thing that sticks out about this story, and my man pointed out to me close to the situation. Shout out to my brother, you know who you are. But why are decorated officers, fugitive task force officers that have been on the force 20 years, 11 years, on the scene investigating a stolen car? Like, these guys handle big D-rug cases and, very high profile, prominent cases. So why are they on the scene of this location?
Because he's a cop and car theft is a crime. Any other stupid questions you want to ask? Of course there are. He's on the Fugitive Apprehension Task Force, not the Prominent High Profile Cases Only Task Force. Richard here is making an assumption. If you're on a task force, you don't investigate anything but the most high profile of crimes. But what's the basis for that assumption? There is none. He just makes it up. And it's not even true. So we start off with a false premise. If you're on a task force, then there is no good reason for you to be on the scene of a lesser crime. Malarkey.
Well, I'm going to tell you why, but first, let's listen to the police chief explain who these officers are by their career accolades. Watch this.
As you know, per Marcy's law, we're not going to reveal the officers' names, the officers who were involved. But here is their information. Been on almost 11 years, fugitive apprehension. Been on almost 24 years, fugitive apprehension.
All right. So you heard us say fugitive apprehension force. Been up there 11 years. Been on the force 24 years, since 2001.
He actually had to think through the subtraction of 2001 from 2025 to get 24.
Why is this decorated officer at the scene of a stolen vehicle?
So we started off with a false premise, and now we're just going to insert highly decorated officer into the narrative. No one said that he was highly decorated. Well, no one but him.
Well, I've received information that this officer was somehow connected to that stolen vehicle.
Oh, you received information. From whom? Again, and this is important, how would this person know? I mean, who would even know? The officer, the guy who owns the vehicle, and who else? Maybe one or two of the other cops? And you really think that they called him? and told him this?
There's strong evidence, information that suggests this officer who shot Ryan Hinton in the back, as we all saw, had connection, like that was his people's car, as it was.
So he just repeats the same claim. Again, who told him this? How would they know? I mean, he claims strong evidence, but he doesn't present it at all.
Was told to me. That is why those unmarked officers were on the scene for 2 hours before calling regular marked cars.
So now we have the leap in logic. Somehow, having a connection to the stolen vehicle, a claim he has yet to justify and almost certainly never will, means that the cops will remain on the scene for 2 hours. Why? Could there be other reasons why the cops were there for 2 hours? Well, no, not according to him. That's proof that the owner knew the cop. Okay.
Because you know how it is, if you got a homeboy that's a detective or, family member that's a detective, you can call them and say, hey, man, my car was stolen. Check into this. Find this car for me, right? Off the books, off the record, right?
Again, what evidence do you have that this actually occurred? And the answer is none. He just dreams it up. Is it possible? Yeah. Is it likely? No. If I'm a police detective, I'm not going to spend my time chasing down your stolen Kia. I'll just tell you to file a police report so that we can broaden the search beyond my individual efforts. Having me perform the investigation by myself is not exactly strategic. I get that police officers will take it upon themselves to investigate a crime after a department has closed down an investigation. They're not supposed to, but it happens. Often these refer to unsolved murders that have gone cold. A Kia stolen the day before? Not likely.
And so it has been suggested, very strongly suggested to me, that that is what happened. This decorated officer, 25 years, that is why there were 2 unmarked cars there. Then,
so he starts with something isn't right, even though there's almost always a logical explanation for it. Then it becomes it is possible that. Then it becomes it is suggested. Then it's highly suggested. And then within seconds it becomes that is why. He then publishes a video with the declaration in the title. This is exactly how Richard operates, and all of the other race hustling YouTubers who pay attention to this dude fall for it every freaking time. Oh, I forgot to add the word allegedly in there from time to time. That somehow makes it okay to push a lie, according to race hustlers.
and afterwards, they said, okay, well, we have to call the regular officers to get them involved so we don't look suspicious. 25 years we are investigating, high profile cases, but there's this little stolen Kia. Now, as the barbershop man told me, in the barbershop, I think across the nation, Kias have been marked as easy to steal.
You didn't have to ask your barber crime expert this. Everyone knows that Kias and Hyundais are easy to steal. That's been widely reported. In fact, the mayor of Chicago got in trouble for demanding that Kia and Hyundai make their cars harder to steal. People said, well, he's passing the blame off to the manufacturers. So the idea that you had to go to your barber to learn this is pretty ridiculous.
By car thieves. So this is another stolen Kia, but you have a 25-year-old veteran investigating this, the Fugitive Apprehension Task Force. Those guys are car thieves at best. Still, people say that, it might have been out for repo. I'm not sure.
People say that it might have been out for repo, but I'm not sure. Dude, you were the biggest propagator of that myth. Are you now backing away from it? And that question goes out to all the other race hustlers out there that pushed this claim. Are you still claiming the car was a repo?
Nevertheless, why is a decorated officer on the scene with that much experience? And you know why? Because it was his people's car. And that's why he shot Ryan like he did. That was anger. How dare you steal my people's car?
See? He no longer bothers with the alleged impossibilities. He drops them completely. He now states these claims as if they were factual. And what's with this my people's car crap? As far as I know, the car was only owned by one person. The cops were probably white. They don't do this brother thing like,
Old Hank is a serial killer who butchered 10 people, including 5 children, but he's my bro. My brother.
white people don't do that. And normal black people, the ones that hold down good jobs and have ethics and morals and don't spend all day excusing criminal behavior, they don't do that bro shit either, because they're not ghetto. They're the kind of people I like to live next door to, not people like you. I'd move if you moved in next to me. And it's not because you're black, it's because you're an asshole.
And everybody knows who the officer is that we're talking about. And Cincinnati is very close to Northern Kentucky. Like you can drive, like where I was staying at, you can drive maybe 3 minutes and you're crossing over into Kentucky. So it's not a long ways away. And, I guess they have very interrelated relationships. And so that is what has been suggested to me because of the sheer presence of a decorated officer. And look at this news clip. My brother also pointed this out to me as well. Look at how many officers. I'm not even going to listen. Look at, they have the whole thing blocked off.
Okay, so this is another tactic of the race hustlers, and that is find suspicion in everything you see. Here, there's a lot of police officers at the scene. That's mighty suspicious. If there were only a few officers that showed up at the scene, that's mighty suspicious. The police chief is there. Oh my God, what does that mean? We got to investigate that. The police chief doesn't show up. She probably doesn't want to have anything to do with this. You can't win.
Crime scene police unit, and now they're patrolling the neighborhood looking for these quote unquote look at that right there.
Oh my God, there's 2 police officers walking. That is so suspicious. I wonder if they're trying to cover something up. The one on the left isn't holding a rifle. I wonder why. I mean, he must think it's perfectly safe. Then why did Ryan Hinton get shot? Oh wait, the one on the right is holding an AR-15. This just shows you how dangerous they think this community is.
You're looking for a person, plain clothes officers, right? The police chief on the scene. Look at that guy right there with the tie on. He's a desk detective.
Oh my God, a desk detective shows up at the scene. How he knows it's a desk detective, I have no idea. But that's mighty suspicious.
All of these police know what's going on. Okay, we got to make it look really bad because this was Cian's friend's car.
Yeah, a cop has shot someone, so there are a lot of police at the scene. There are tons of potentially angry people inside those apartments who may want to exact revenge on those investigating the scene, like what happened in Ferguson, Missouri, when Officer Darren Wilson shot Michael Dead Thug Brown. So we have a bunch of armed cops show up to secure it. Boy, that is so suspicious. How does this have anything to do with whether the shooting officer knew the car's owner? In reality, this is just another tactic employed by the race hustler. Whatever you see, spin it to make the cops look guilty. What if only a couple of police officers showed up at the scene? Do you think the race hustlers would say, gee, I guess this just shows you that the shooting was justified? No. They would say, you see, almost no one showed up to investigate because they don't want any attention. They want to sweep it under the rug. You can't freaking win with these people.
And you have to ask yourself, as this police chief stated, that there is a 25-year veteran officer on the scene investigating a stolen car. Stolen cars don't have to be investigated. They just have to be located and returned to the owner.
Yeah, Mr. Police Expert here. Me, I would prefer police investigate the theft to determine who stole it. And is this the car we're looking for? Things like that.
As you know, I visited the scene. It's very close in. It is, from my opinion now, that those officers were laying in wait. That officer that you saw shoot him, you know, they had everything planned out, because once again, their plan was to unalive one of them, at least, for stealing their people's car.
Based on what? There he goes again. So now all the other race hustlers will be pushing out videos claiming that the cops had the shooting planned ahead of time because these cops wanted to exact revenge on account of a friend who got his Kia stolen. It's amazing how Richard regards a car theft as being so minor that cops won't bother investigating one if they are on an important task force. I mean, it's just a car theft, and these cops only care about important things. But a car theft is now such a heinous crime that multiple cops will plan a murder to exact revenge for it.
You know, once again, it hasn't been, outed yet. But, from my understanding, from people very close to the situation, that is why. Explain to me why. Anybody in the comments can explain to me why a 25-year decorated veteran, aggressive task force agent would be the shooter of our young brother.
Because he's a cop. And your young brother is a criminal. Oh, I'm sorry, was a criminal. Your young brother, like the dumbass he was, ran from the cop carrying a gun. That's why if he was white, I wouldn't call him a young brother. People would ask me, was he your bro? And I'd say, oh, hell no. I would like to think that the Walker Dredd family is a bit smarter than that. I would do my best to pawn him off on some other race. I ain't claiming him because I have standards. And if some white criminal dude does something stupid with a gun and a cop plants his brains in the begonias, I'd be like, well, whatever. I am not going to stick up for that dude.
Speaking to Cincinnati, everybody knows who it is, allegedly. And we did that video as well. Allegedly.
Here's another tip. Saying allegedly doesn't absolve you when you prostitute the truth. You are spreading lies about a cop that could have serious ramifications if people believe you. Sprinkling allegedly throughout your narrative is not the magic protection that you think it is.
But I'm going to be sharing some more information from my visit, some things I've gathered. But I received that call this morning, and I thought, yeah, that's a good point to make. Why was a 25-year-old 25-year decorated veteran of the fugitive apprehension force there on the scene for the stolen Kia? Because that Kia was allegedly belonging to somebody that he has close ties with. And that is where the anger came from. That is where the maliciousness came from. There was no stop. There was no freeze. There was none of that. He shot Ryan. And once again, I have to go back and look at the videos, but he probably shot Ryan as soon as he got out of the car.
Since we're just making shit up, why not? Well, that's enough. I hope you can still recite your ABCs after listening to Richard for the past half hour. If you can, you're smarter than Richard. If you're interested in listening to me recite the introduction to Richard's book, go here. I am telling you that it is a rewarding experience from an entertainment standpoint. And by that I mean it is the dumbest book introduction I have ever read, even eclipsing Rashad Ritchie's. Okay, maybe not, but it's still hilarious. Like my video and subscribe to my channel.